And it's not hard to see that we're in the middle of the once-in-several-generations economic crisis with a once-in-several-generations public health crisis. The crisis of deep human suffering is in plain sight, and there's no time to waste. We have to act, and we have to act now. This is what economists are.
I see everyone getting excited. Do you think someone's going to like lift off the face and it's going to be like, whoa, wow, it was Bernie Sanders the whole time? No, no. I can kind of hear them. I think they don't know the camera's on right now. This is like a Twitch stream, a scuffed one. Oh, we're going to the left. They're accidentally filming their introduction to what he has to do, I think.
I feel like
What the fuck is happening? Do you know you're live? 8,000 people are watching this right now, dude. Also, that can't be good. Why is it so low? Like, I'm 1/8 the president of the United States right now for streaming numbers? That doesn't make sense. This has to go up. Wow, they're going with this. Good job. You fixed it. Well done. Oh, no. You want a readjustment? So we're just about ready to turn the camera on, right? Is that Jared Kushner? He's looking rough. He's seen better days. I guess this is his new job. Extreme zoom. Good. I hope this is going to help the stonks, by the way. I hope investor confidence is going to be at an all-time high today. They're watching this and like, I definitely think I should be putting more of my money into the stock market because this is reassuring me. This Yahoo Finance, you see. Oh, do you have paper? I too have paper. I'll hold my paper. Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's about transparency. That's it. They want to show you how the sausage is made. Oh. Ow. Ow. Why is that getting higher? Oh, man. What is this scuffed ass shit? This is the richest country in the world, by the way. This is the announcement by the richest country in the world. Is there? Oh, I was like, if there's live chat, they must be losing their shit, but there's not. Oh, here he is. It's starting. Bravo. Oh.
It's been 343 days since the virus that has ravaged our nation tragically claimed its first life. On February the 6th in 2020, Patricia Dowd took her last breath at home under the California sun in Santa Clara. She was 57 years old, a beloved wife, mother, daughter, sister. She never knew she had the virus at the time when most folks never heard about the virus. But just like that, she was gone. And almost exactly 1 year later, nearly 400,000 of our fellow Americans have met the same cruel fate. Countless families and friends left behind with unrelenting grief and guilt, anger and frustration. And the emptiness felt by the loss of life is compounded by the loss of our way of life.
That is a little odd. Could just be like botched makeup.
During this pandemic, millions of Americans, through no fault of their own, have lost the dignity and respect that comes with a job and a paycheck. Millions of Americans never thought they'd be out of work. Many of them never even envisioned the idea, are facing eviction, waiting for hours in their cars to feed their families as they drive up to a food bank. Millions have kept their jobs but have seen their hours and paychecks reduced, barely hanging on as well. That's happening today in the United States of America. Just as in the midst of the dark winter of this pandemic, as cases, hospitalizations, and deaths spike at record levels, there is real pain overwhelming the real economy. One where people rely on paychecks, not their investments, to pay for their bills and their meals and their children's needs.
That's how most
You won't see this
Americans
pain
live.
if your scorecard is how things are going on Wall Street. But you will see it very clearly if you examine what the twin crises of a pandemic and this sinking economy have laid bare. The growing divide between those few people at the very top who are doing quite well in this economy and the rest of America. Just since this pandemic began, the wealth of the top 1% of the nation has grown roughly $1.5 trillion since the end of last year, 4 times the amount for the entire bottom 50% of American wage earners. Some 18 million Americans are still relying on unemployment insurance. Some 400,000 small businesses have permanently closed their doors. And it's not hard to see that we're in the middle of the once-in-several-generations economic crisis with a once-in-several-generations public health crisis. The crisis of deep human suffering is in plain sight, and there's no time to waste. We have to act, and we have to act now. This is what economists are.
I see everyone getting excited. Do you think someone's going to like lift off the face and it's going to be like, whoa, wow, it was Bernie Sanders the whole time? No, no.
More importantly, it's what the values we hold dear in our hearts as Americans are telling us. A growing chorus of top economists agree that the moment of crisis, in this moment of crisis, with interest rates at historic lows, we cannot afford inaction. It's not just that smart fiscal investments, including deficit spending, are more urgent than ever. It's that the return on these investments in jobs, racial equity, will prevent long-term economic damage, and the benefits will far surpass the cost. A growing number of top economists has shown even our debt situation will be more stable, not less stable, if we seize this moment with vision and purpose. And so tonight, I'd like to talk to you about our way forward, a 2-step plan of rescue and recovery, a 2-step plan to build a bridge to the other side of the crisis we face to a better, stronger, more secure America. Tonight, I'll lay out my first step, the American Rescue Plan, that will tackle the pandemic and get direct financial assistance and relief to Americans who need it the most. Next month, in my first appearance before a joint session of Congress, I will lay out my Build Back Better recovery plan.
Such a bad
It'll make
name.
historic investments in infrastructure, that Build Back Better plan.
Oh my God.
Infrastructure, manufacturing, innovation, research and development, and clean energy. Investments in a caregiving economy and skills and training needed by our workers to be able to compete and win in the global economy of the coming years. Moody's, an independent Wall Street firm, said my approach will create more than 18 million good-paying jobs.
Loves my independent
Our rescue
Wall
and
Street
recovery
firms.
plan
This
is a
sounds
path
great.
forward with both seriousness of purpose
He's
and a
ramping
clear
up the
plan
neoliberalism, everybody.
with transparency and accountability, with a call for unity that is equally necessary. And unity is not some pie-in-the-sky dream. It's a practical step to getting the things we have to get done as a country get done together. As I said when it passed in December, the bipartisan COVID-19 relief package was a very important first step. And I'm grateful for the Democrats, Republicans, and independent members of Congress who came together to get it done. But I said at the time, it's just a down payment. We need more action, more bipartisanship, and we need to move quickly. We need to move fast. Our rescue plan starts aggressively in order to speed up our national COVID-19 response. The vaccines offer so much hope, and we're grateful to the scientists and researchers and everyone who participated in the clinical trials. We're also grateful for the rigorous review and testing that has led to millions of people around the world already being vaccinated safely. But the vaccine rollout in the United States has been a dismal failure thus far. Tomorrow, I will lay out our vaccination plan to correct course and meet our goal of 100 million shots at the end of my first 100 days as president. This will be one of the most challenging operational efforts we have ever undertaken as a nation. We'll have to move heaven and earth to get more people vaccinated, to create more places for them to get vaccinated, to mobilize more medical teams to get shots in people's arms, to increase vaccine supply, and to get it out the door as fast as possible.
Yeah,
we'll also do everything we can to keep our educators and students safe, to safely reopen a majority of our K through 8 schools by the end of the first 100 days. We can do this if we give the school districts, the schools themselves, the communities, the states, the clear guidance they need, as well as the resources they need that they can't afford right now because of the economic dilemma they're in. That means more testing and transportation, additional cleaning and sanitizing services in those schools, protective equipment and ventilation systems in those schools. We need to make sure that workers who have COVID-19 symptoms are quarantined, and those who need to take care of their family members with COVID-19 symptoms should be able to stay home from work and still get paid. This will reduce the spread of the virus and make sure workers get the support they need to maintain their families. But we need about $400 billion in funding from Congress to make all of what I just said happen. It's a great deal, but I'm convinced we are ready to get this done. The very health of our nation is at stake. Our rescue plan also includes immediate relief to Americans hardest hit and most in need. We will finish the job of getting a total of $2,000 in cash relief to people who need it the most. $600 already appropriated is simply not enough. We just have to choose between paying rent and putting food on the table. Even for those who've kept their jobs,
14 won't solve
these
that.
checks are really important. You see, if you're an American worker making $40,000 a year with less than $400 in savings, maybe you've lost hours, or maybe you're doing fewer shifts, driving a truck or caring for the kids or the elderly. You're out there putting your life on the line to work during this pandemic and worried every week that you'll get sick, lose your job, or worse. $2,000 is going to go a long way to ease that pain. We'll also provide more peace of mind for struggling families by extending unemployment insurance beyond the end of March for millions of workers. That means that 18 million Americans currently relying on unemployment benefits while they look for work can count on these checks continuing to be there. Plus, there will be a $400 per week supplement so people can make ends meet. This gets money quickly into the pockets of millions of Americans who will spend it immediately on food and rent and other basic needs. As the economists tell us, that helps the whole economy grow. We'll also tackle the growing hunger crisis in America. As I speak, and the Vice President-elect has spoken to this many times, 1 in 7 households.
I've spoken to The Economist, and The Economist has told me this, and yes, it's good. Then why not give it to them every month? Why not do that every month? Why not $2,000 all the time? If it helps the economy, if it builds up the lower classes, as you say, and I'm not disagreeing with that, just make it a UBI.
More than 1 in 5 Black and Latino households in America report they don't have enough food to eat. This includes 30 million adults and as many as 12 million children. It's wrong. It's tragic. It's unnecessary. It's unacceptable. So we're going to extend emergency nutritional assistance for 43 million children and their families enrolled in the SNAP program through the rest of this year. We'll help hard-hit restaurants prepare meals for the hungry, provide food for the families who need it. We will invest $3 billion in making sure mothers and their young children have the nutrition they need. This will not only meet our moral obligation we have to one another, but will also spur our economic growth, get restaurants and workers back on the job. And as we work to keep people from going hungry, we'll also work to keep a roof over their heads, to stem the growing housing crisis and evictions that are looming. Approximately 14 million Americans have fallen behind on rent, many at risk of eviction. If we don't act now, there'll be a wave of evictions and foreclosures in the coming months as the pandemic rages on. This would overwhelm emergency shelters, increase COVID-19 infections as people have nowhere to go and can't socially distance. Next week, we'll take action to extend nationwide restrictions on evictions and foreclosures. This will provide more than 25 million Americans greater stability instead of living on the edge every single month. And I'm asking Congress to do its part by funding rental assistance for 14 million hard-hit families and tenants. It will also be a bridged economic recovery for countless mom-and-pop landlords. These crises are straining the budgets of states and cities and tribal communities that are forced to consider layoff and service restrictions of the most needed workers. It means that people putting their lives at risk are the very people now at risk of losing their jobs. Police officers, firefighters, all first responders, nurses, educators. You know, over the last year alone, over 600,000 educators have lost their jobs in our cities and towns. Our rescue plan will provide emergency funding to keep these essential workers on the job and maintain essential services. It will ensure that vaccines are administered and schools can reopen. Vice President-elect Harris and I have been speaking with county officials, mayors, governors of both parties on a regular basis. We're ready to work with them to help them get the relief they need. Our rescue plan will also help small businesses that are the engines of our economic growth, our economy as a whole, the glue that holds communities together as well.
Oh, the glue.
But they're hurting badly. And you realize they account for nearly half of the entire total U.S. workforce. Our rescue plan will provide flexible grants to help those hardest hit small businesses survive the pandemic, and the low-cost capital that will help entrepreneurs of all backgrounds create and maintain jobs, plus provide the essential goods and services that communities depend upon. Last week, I laid out how we'll make sure that our emergency small business relief is distributed swiftly and equitably, unlike the first time around. We're going to focus on small businesses on Main Street. We'll focus on minority-owned small businesses, women-owned small businesses, and finally having equal access to the resources they need to reopen and to rebuild. And we will be responsible with taxpayers' dollars, ensuring accountability that reduces waste and fraud and abuse like we did in the Recovery Act that I administered in our administration. Direct cash payments, extended unemployment insurance, rent relief, food assistance, keeping essential frontline workers on the job, aid to small businesses. These are the key elements to the American Rescue Plan that would lift 12 million Americans out of poverty and cut child poverty in half. That's 5 million children lifted out of poverty if we move. Our plan will reduce poverty in the Black community by 1/3, reduce poverty in the Hispanic community by almost 40%. And includes much more, like an increase in the minimum wage to at least $15 an hour. People tell me that's going to be hard to pass. Florida just passed it. As divided as that state is, they just passed it.
Fuck yeah. Okay.
The rest of the country is ready to move as well. It should be a national minimum wage of $15 an hour.
Nice.
No one working 40 hours a week should live below the poverty line.
True.
That's what it means. If you work for less than $15 an hour and work 40 hours a week, you're living in poverty. It includes access to affordable child care that will enable parents, particularly women, to get back to work. I look forward to working with members of Congress of both parties to move quickly to get the American Rescue Plan to the American people. And then we can move with equal urgency and bipartisanship to my Build Back Better recovery plan that I will call for next month to generate even more economic growth. American manufacturing was the arsenal of democracy in World War II.
Yeah, I know.
It will be so again.
It was like a decade ago, $15.
Imagine the future.
I totally agree.
Made in America. All made in America and all by Americans.
Oh,
We'll use taxpayers' dollars to rebuild America. We'll buy American products, supporting millions of American manufacturing jobs, enhancing our competitive strength in an increasingly competitive world. Imagine historic investments in research and development to sharpen America's innovative edge in markets where global leadership is up for grabs. Markets like the battery technology, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, clean energy. Imagine confronting the climate crisis with American jobs and ingenuity leading the world. It's time to stop talking about infrastructure and to finally start building an infrastructure so we can be more competitive. Millions of good-paying jobs that put Americans to work rebuilding our roads, our bridges, our ports, to make them more climate resilient, to make them faster, cheaper, cleaner, to transport American-made goods across our country and around the world. That's how we compete. And imagine millions of jobs in a caregiving economy to ease the financial burden of caring for young children and aged loved ones. Let's make sure our caregivers, mostly women, women of color, immigrants, have the same pay and dignity that they deserve. So we can do these bold, practical things now. You know, I know what I just described does not come cheaply, but failure to do so will cost us dearly. The consensus among leading economists is we simply cannot afford not to do what I'm proposing.
The economists.
Independent, respected institutions from around the world, from the Federal Reserve to the International Monetary Fund, have underscored the urgency. Even Wall Street firms have reinforced the logic. If we invest now boldly, smartly, and with unwavering focus on American workers and families, we will strengthen our economy, reduce inequity, and put our nation's long-term finances on the most sustainable course.
Can't not afford not to not do it. Can't not afford
and where
not
we're
to
making
not do it.
permanent investments, recurring investments. As I said in the campaign trail, we will pay for them by making sure that everyone pays their fair share, not punishing anybody. We can do it without punishing a single person by closing tax loopholes for companies that ship jobs overseas, or to allow American companies, 90 of them, the top Fortune 500, to pay zero in federal income taxes, asking everyone to pay their fair share at the top so we can make permanent investments to rescue and rebuild America. It's the right thing for our economy. It's the fair thing. It's the decent thing to do. We not only have an economic imperative to act now, I believe we have a moral obligation. In this pandemic, in America, we cannot let people go hungry. We cannot let people get evicted. We cannot watch nurses, educators, and others lose their jobs. We so badly need them. We must act now and act decisively. My fellow Americans, the decisions we make in the next few weeks and months are going to determine whether we thrive in a way that benefits all Americans, or whether we stay stuck in a place where those at the top do great, while economic growth for most everyone else is just a spectator sport, and where American prospects dim, not brighten. These investments will determine whether we reassert American leadership and outcompete our competitors in the global economy. We're better equipped to do this than any nation in the world. Or that we watch them catch up and pass us by. Together, I know which path we'll choose. And that includes all Americans, so we can own the 21st century. But even with all these bold steps, it's going to take time to get where we need to be.
You got owned, son.
There will be stumbles, but I will always be honest with you about both the progress we're making and what setbacks we meet. And there will, and here's the deal, the more people we vaccinate, the faster we do it, the sooner we can save lives and put this pandemic behind us and get back to our lives and our loved ones. And the sooner we can rescue and rebuild the American economy, the biggest and most profitable engine in the world. I know it's been nearly a year that tested us beyond measure. For all of you who have lost someone, my heart goes out to you. I know that feeling looking at that empty chair across the table. All of you who've fallen on hard times, I know you can never get back what you lost. But as your president, I know that every day matters.
Medicare for all?
And every person matters.
No more empty chairs?
Medicare
for all?
To the nearly 400,000 lost American souls and counting, to the millions of you just looking for a fighting chance in this economy, I promise you, we will not forget you. We understand what you're going through. We will never, ever give up. And we will come back. We'll come back together. Well, we didn't get into all this overnight. We won't get out of it overnight. And we can't do it as a separated and divided nation. The only way we can do it is to come together as fellow Americans, as neighbors, as the United States of America. And when we do, there's nothing beyond our capacity. I've said this many times. When America acts as one, there's never been a single thing we've been unable to do, no matter how consequential the issue has been. Out of all the peril of this moment, I want you to know, I give him a word, I see the promise as well. We've seen clearly what we face now. And I remain so optimistic about America. As optimistic as I've ever been. We have everything we need, but the will must be demonstrated. So come Wednesday, we begin a new chapter.
Wednesday.
The Vice President-elect and I will do our best to meet all the expectations you have for the country and the expectations we have for it. I'm confident. I am truly confident. Together, we can get this done and come out better off than when we went into this crisis. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.
Army. Also military power. The details aren't out yet. I mean, as of right now, the whole thing is just like a lot of talking about. Oh my God, they hinted. Did you see? Did you see? Vice President Harris in the background there? Just a little hint, a little crumb. That one's for the people. That one's like, ooh, yeah. Now she's there. We're gonna tease you. We're gonna tease you. That comes Wednesday. Yeah, that's coming. That's coming. Don't forget about those troops, though. Love the troops. But anyways, no details out yet. We have no what the actual. I saw that one tweet, so it's gonna be $1,400 to each American, one-time payment. Yet again, one-time payment. Money to small businesses. Let's see, Biden economic plan. Oh, HuffPo's already talking about it. All right. Biden campaign last year on a promise to take the pandemic more seriously than President Donald Trump. Yes, that is not a high bar to get over, but that at least sounds like he's trying to. I mean, we just watched a documentary right before that happened, so that was a good, I guess, primer on anti-vaxxers and why there's no infrastructure in the United States for distributing vaccines, which is why it's been so shitty so far. More than 380,000 people in the United States have died of COVID. It's going to be like 400,000 very soon. Trump himself supported $2,000 checks for America, but they settled on $600. I still say go for the 2,000, and obviously, I mean, it's going to be a little bit,
checks were passed.
A little bit too lefty to say this should be every month, but yeah, if you want to keep people alive, the thing I'm worried about more than anything though is when you keep saying like, I'm going to support small businesses, we need to give our money to small businesses, is that actually where the money is going to go? Because unfortunately, there's been a big problem with larger corporations taking the funds that should be bestowed upon these small businesses, you know, the backbone of America, the American economy that everyone cares so much about. The American economy is not now no longer supported by small businesses. It's like these monstrous corporations that dominate everything. They're the ones that are huge employers too. So it's not as if like, I'd love to say, hey, by the way, let's destroy Amazon and get rid of it for all time. But that's also me saying, by the way, I hope like 350,000 people lose their jobs tomorrow. All of them. I hope all of them have no jobs tomorrow, and I hope they find another way to feed their families, because that's the world we live in now. But it would be nice if money that was intended for smaller businesses exclusively went to smaller businesses. For the other major corporations, like, do we need more monster bailouts? Because that's what I'm kind of worried of with these sweeping plans. Like, the number sounds wonderful. It's like $1.5 trillion, and that's going to be to help the people. Did you hear all the things he said? It was inspiring. He talked about how he's going to feed children, literally. Joe Biden is going to go from school to school, house to house. He's going to find hungry babies, hungry kids, and he's just going to get all that malarkey slop and get it right in their gullets. That's a promise. That's a Joe Biden guarantee. And obviously, I would love if he did that. I'd love if he was a little like President Santa Claus going around feeding the kids. But at the end of the day, I don't know how much of this is going to work out. You know? Yeah, he's going to feed all of you from a silver spoon. He's going to be your spoon daddy, just feeding all the Americans one by one. Biden's incoming White House economic advisor, Brian Deese, told Reuters on Wednesday that the president-elect would press Congress to pass immediate stimulus measures and then turn to longer-term economic recovery measures related to the healthcare and infrastructure. I mean, I would love it. I would love it if this ended up being like, okay, here's the positives I'll take away. Yes, this is infinitely nicer to listen to than Donald Trump, the fascist. All right, let's just be totally honest here. This is way better. I would like to have old man Biden talk to me about $15 minimum wage than I'd like to hear Donald Trump talk to me about the superiority of the white race. I prefer one to the other. It is a decidedly nicer change. It is, yes. It's been turned down a little bit. You know, there's a little less like holy shit. But at the same time, it does feel a bit like empty promises. I guess. You know what? At this point, maybe it's because everyone is just we're hungry and we're ready to fight. Like I as much as some of these measures sound good, now is the time. Now is the time to start just pushing. Where the people we're up against are the Democrats. It's the neolibs. We're not up against the right wing anymore. There's no more us versus Trump. Like they've lost all their power. They're a husk of their former selves. They're just like scraps fittering in the wind, fighting each other, QAnon, all this kind of stuff. I'm way more terrified of the way the public has turned than the Republican Party itself. The public, who has been indoctrinated into this cult of Trump and all this kind of shit. That's way more terrifying. But anyways, this is what we're up against now. We're up against the Democrats. Joe Manchin is basically like, you know, public enemy number one, and everyone else. But that's all that stands in the way of things like the Green New Deal, for example, of Medicare for all. Like those are now going to be in the hands of a party that controls everything. Oh, and Chairman Bernie. Can't forget about Chairman Bernie. But yeah, $15 minimum wage, I agree, was progressive a decade ago. But still, I mean, $15 minimum wage would be a monstrously huge thing. And if the bill's already drafted up, then fuck, just pass that shit. Pass that shit right away. Don't do one of those, like, you know, stamp, and it goes into effect in 2027. Hey, hopefully by then you've got shit sorted out. No, like I would put that directly into effect. I don't know. I think ultimately there are some things that would benefit middle America so much, including not $15 minimum wage, take it to a $30 minimum wage, but would benefit America so much that I think that would do a better job of whatever he's proposing, turning down the temperature, whatever that weird shit is. You know what'll do a better job of doing all that is genuinely helping out workers, because then they will have better lives in their households. They'll have better lives in their families. It's the thing that's stressing them all out. No one wants to be evicted. No one wants to lose their job. No one wants to be poor. Like, this is the shit that actually is causing them all this grief. This is what they're looking for solutions for. If you want to, like, reach across the aisle, that's the way you do it. That's like, that'll go such a longer way than like gifts and tokens and mostly platitudes. That's the problem. Platitudes. I come from a place that still pays $7.25 an hour. $15 minimum wage would literally change lives. Absolutely it would. Yeah. Oh yeah. No question it would. And look to countries that do it. It doesn't destroy their economy. Australia. Is Australia in tatters? Their minimum wage is like $25. They do just fine. It eliminates the need to tip in that country. It's not considered a practice that's in there. So there you go, all you cheapskates. You won't have to tip because, people working in everyday jobs aren't depending on you to keep them up because their employers won't do it. Because their bosses won't do it. Aussie bartender here. I make $20 an hour. 20 bucks. 20 Australian though, right? I started a job at $7.25. Oof, it's not 25. It's way less and it's adjusted. Lance, how will the restaurant industry underpay their workers? What do you mean by underpay their workers? I hate tipping. I do it anyway, but I hate it. I hate tipping in some scenarios where I'm like, you are dependent. I know. I pulled a Dave Rubin. That was weird. That came from deep. That was guttural. You are dependent ultimately on me tipping you because your boss isn't paying you enough. That to me is fucked up. Like they should be paying you, not so that like you live or die based on like the generosity of strangers. That's not a good system. I'm a server on the weekends and I make $2 an hour. $2 an hour. How? Oh, so that's one of those fucked up places that adjusts for your tips and then pays you less? That's the worst I think I've ever heard. That's like what the IMF sets as the bar for countries that are under the poverty level to lie about how poverty's been descending for the past little while. That's fucked. See, that should be illegal. Like that is wage theft. That is your employer stealing wage. I mean, yes, come on, lefties, we're all on the same page. Yes, I understand that all labor is exploitative, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just saying that in that scenario, that should be within our current system illegal. You shouldn't be able to do that. Like they shouldn't have any rights to touch your tips that's not theirs. That's like, that in essence is a gift between one human to you, another human. It's not part of the whole job. In US bars, etc., they don't even have to claim all the employees. Fuck me. Don't touch tips. New York Times is reporting that Biden's plan would end the $2 minimum wage loophole for servers. Oh, fuck yeah. Okay, well there you go. That's huge. That's great news. Okay, I'm for that. That's fantastic. Yeah. No one stops you from tipping even if the minimum wage is increased. Yep, no one does. $20 an hour is minimum wage in Australia. Tipping is not required, although tip jars are available in all cafes and bars. Okay, well, there you go. Herman Cain set the $2 hour. No way. That's a Herman Cain? Oh man, he's haunting from beyond the grave. 2. That sucks. Yeah. Tip everybody because apparently your employers are fucking like. Do I have to tip under the table if I ever get to go to the US again? If I didn't know this. Like that is really fucked up. I think that's illegal in Canada. So do I have to basically be like, oh, by the way, come with me? I'm just gonna. Yeah, there you go. There's $20. Take it, please.
What lies around the corner? Never knowing who's going to kill you. Are you the next one to be murked? You never know if it's a friend or a foe. If you want to see the biggest names in BreadTube and Left Twitch and Butterthing and I don't know the fucking names anymore, come see Left Among Us. If you want us to advertise your channel or work, please go to weareserfs.com and email us a 20 to 30 second ad and we'll take it on to the end of one of our videos to help promote your leftist channel or progressive something. Whatever you do.
To our God, I'm Rast, Xander Corvus, and Schlatsky, we shall commit blood sacrifices in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, our lives are yours to command. To our lords, Jeffrey Lamb, Trevor R., Stephen, Hans Josephine, Poppy Nelson, Ryan Lubin, Jimothy K. Meeblebeeps Jr., we bow meekly for your pleasure. To our knights of the round table, Josh Mickelson, Dylan Bythe, Zach Christensen, Todd Buckingham, Todd Lajeunesse, Political Puppy, Jimmy Bignuts, Andreas Chitoro, Good Poon Hates Cops, That's Solid Poon Then, Dr. Zayas, Yoppy, Violent Orchard, Sophie Baby, Jack Darko, Thomas Barretton, J. Fraser Cartwright, Goofalankius, Melissa Murphy, Nicholas Marks, Alexander Thaler, Ali Rada Jaffer, Alex Gauvin, Radical Maniac, we salute you.